Imagine lying in your bed late at night, the room completely silent except for the faint rhythm of your breathing, when something unusual begins to happen, not a dream, not sleep, but a strange awareness that your body is drifting away while your mind remains perfectly awake. Many people who practice astral travel describe this exact moment as the doorway to something far more mysterious than simply leaving the body. They claim that beyond the familiar world we wake up to every morning lies a network of almost identical realities, parallel versions of Earth, existing like overlapping layers of the same song played at slightly different frequencies. And if consciousness can move independently from the body, the question becomes unavoidable: what if astral travel is not just movement through space, but movement through versions of reality itself? Consider how strange our universe already is. In modern physics, the idea that multiple versions of reality could exist simultaneously is not completely absurd. Quantum theory suggests that particles can exist in multiple states at once until observed, and some interpretations propose that every possible outcome of an event may unfold in its own parallel timeline. Most people encounter these ideas only in science fiction, but experienced astral travelers often describe something unsettlingly similar, not in equations, but in direct experience. They report leaving their bodies and exploring environments that look almost identical to Earth, yet subtly wrong in ways that feel impossible to ignore. A street may appear exactly the same as the one outside your house, but the buildings are slightly different colors. A childhood home might exist, yet the furniture is arranged in a way that never happened in your life. The sky may have a faint hue that doesn't belong to our atmosphere, or time itself feels strangely compressed, as if the world is running on a slightly different clock. At first glance, these experiences could be dismissed as vivid dreams or imagination, and skepticism is reasonable. The human brain is incredibly capable of constructing convincing illusions, especially during altered states of consciousness. But what makes these reports so intriguing is their consistency across people who have never met each other, across cultures and decades. Many describe the same sensation before the transition: a heavy vibration spreading through the body, a buzzing sound in the ears, and the unmistakable feeling of separating from physical gravity. Then, instead of floating through the room like a ghost, they sometimes find themselves standing somewhere else entirely, somewhere familiar yet not quite right. Imagine stepping outside your house and seeing your neighborhood exactly as you remember it, except the cars parked on the street are models that never existed in your timeline. Imagine walking to the corner store you visit every week, only to find a different name on the sign and strangers inside who behave as though this has always been the way things are. In these accounts, the traveler often feels like an invisible observer moving through a world that operates normally for its own inhabitants. No one reacts to their presence, and yet everything appears alive, functioning, real. The psychological impact of such an experience can be intense. Our sense of identity is deeply tied to the stability of the world around us. When you wake up every morning, you trust that the same earth will be waiting for you, the same streets, the same people, the same rules. But if consciousness can step into alternate versions of that reality, even briefly, it forces a disturbing possibility into your mind: the version of life you are living right now might be only one branch among countless others. Think about all the moments in life where a single decision changed everything. The job you accepted instead of another, the relationship that began or ended, the place you chose to move or stay. In a parallel framework, each of those decisions might have created a different version of you, living a slightly different life on a slightly different Earth. Astral travelers sometimes report glimpsing environments that feel like echoes of those unrealized paths, worlds where certain details suggest history unfolded differently. A city skyline might include buildings that were never constructed in our timeline. A familiar friend might exist there, but living a completely different life. These encounters often last only minutes before the traveler is suddenly pulled back to their physical body, as if some invisible boundary has been crossed. But the memory of those moments can linger for years. Skeptics argue that these experiences are simply the brain weaving together memories, expectations, and imagination while the body sleeps. And to be fair, neuroscience offers strong reasons to consider this explanation. During the transition between wakefulness and sleep, the brain enters a state known as hypnagogia, where vivid imagery, sounds, and sensations can emerge with startling realism. The mind is essentially dreaming while still partially conscious, which can easily produce environments that feel tangible and consistent. Yet there is an interesting psychological detail that makes the phenomenon harder to dismiss entirely. Many people who claim to have encountered alternate Earth-like environments describe a feeling that goes beyond visual difference. They talk about a subtle emotional atmosphere, almost like the world itself carries a slightly different personality. In some versions, the environment feels calm but unfamiliar, like visiting a distant city where everything is peaceful but foreign. In others, there is an uneasy tension, as if something in that world evolved differently from our own. This emotional perception might come from the brain attempting to interpret unfamiliar patterns. Our minds constantly scan environments for threats and social cues, and when something looks almost right but not completely, the subconscious reacts immediately. That reaction can produce a powerful sense that you are somewhere you do not belong. Now imagine the consequences if even a fraction of these experiences were more than dreams. If consciousness could temporarily shift awareness into parallel realities, even unintentionally, it would change how we understand human perception, identity, and the boundaries of existence itself. It would mean the mind is not locked inside one version of the universe, but capable of tuning into others under certain conditions, like a radio picking up different stations that exist simultaneously in the air around us. And yet, there is also a deeply human element hidden inside these stories. When people return from these experiences, they rarely come back talking about cosmic secrets or advanced knowledge. Instead, they often describe something simpler but more profound, a renewed appreciation for the specific life they woke up to. Because when you stand in a world that looks almost like home but isn't quite yours, you begin to understand how fragile and unique your own reality really is. The people you know, the choices you made, the small details of your everyday environment, these things suddenly feel less ordinary. Whether astral travel truly allows glimpses of parallel Earths or simply reveals the extraordinary creative power of the human mind, the effect can be the same. It forces you to confront the possibility that reality is far larger and more mysterious than the narrow slice we experience every day. And perhaps the most unsettling thought of all is this: if there are countless versions of Earth existing side by side, then somewhere out there might be another version of you lying in another bed on another night, feeling the same strange vibrations, beginning to drift out of their body, and stepping into a world that looks almost identical to yours, except in that reality, they are the visitor. And you are the alternate life they will never truly understand.